Welcome to the last company of today's life science seminar. That's Idogen, and with me today I have the CEO of Idogen, Anders Carlson. So the word is yours.
Thank you. As I said, my name is Anders Carlson. I am the CEO of Idogen, and we are actually in a very exciting stage in our development. We are moving towards treatment in the first patient in our first clinical study. So a move from preclinical into clinical at the end of this year. The agenda for the day is to give a background and to explain and give an introduction to our autologous cell therapy. I want to talk about key activities that we have done, go into our prioritized projects, and also to share activities for this year and ahead. And just to give you a brief introduction to cell therapy, a lot of people talk about cell therapy, but what is really cell therapy in a few words? In cell therapy, we aim to treat diseases by using cells to repair or change other cells in the body. The cells are cultured or modified outside the body before being injected in the patient. And these cells can come from the patient, and then you call it autologous cell therapy, or from a donor, and then you call it allogenic cell therapy. Our cell therapy aims to manage conditions or diseases when the immune system has become your enemy. It can be in situations where important biological drugs used for severe diseases, and the immune system starts to develop antibodies against them. Other conditions is in connection with transplant, where you today needs to give an immunosuppressant treatment in order to avoid rejections from the immune system. The third project is autoimmune diseases. All these diseases when the immune system erroneously attacks the body's own cells and tissues. And in all these conditions, we are aiming at turn off these unwanted attacks in the patient from the immune system. As I said, we have 3 projects, but all of them are based on the same platform, and we call it Idogen's tolerogenic platform, and it's actually patentable, and we have sent in patent applications. It's a new IP, meaning that if approved, it will take us with market exclusivity until 2040, which is 20 years ahead from now. First project is IDO8, treating patients with hemophilia A and patients that has developed neutralizing antibodies towards the current treatment with factor VIII. The next is, as I said, transplantation, and we are aiming at kidney transplantation where you have a living donor, a related donor from which you get the kidney. And then the autoimmune diseases is a big group of indications for which we as a plan have to license them out to the right companies. Just to give you a brief introduction to the immune system and how our treatment act. The dendritic cells plays a key role. You can say that is the one that maneuver the immune system and manage to take the decisions if someone is a friend or if something is a foe. And if you identify something as an enemy, then it initiates and activates the immune response, and you take that away. That goes for virus, bacteria, and cancers. If you identify something that should be there, for example, pharmaceutical, transplant organ, and other things, then it should instead downregulate the immune response and also release the regulatory T cells. And the regulatory T cells is a very important component in our immune system as such. So this is how it works, and if you find out something when, for example, pharmaceuticals transplant the organ and own tissues and organs, you want to treat the cells and make them to tolerize the identified cells that you have there. We have a tailor-made treatment. We use the patient's own cells. So at the patient's hospital, we are collecting the monocytes from the patients via having the technique apheresis, where you select the specific blood cells that you will use for manufacturing the cell therapy. You take the monocytes to our GMP facilities, where you introduce them to the disease-specific antigen, that antigen that initiate and triggers the unwanted immune attack. And you mix that with our patentable tolerance inducer, the key component in our technology. And by doing this, you are creating tolerogenic dendritic cells, which actually is the treatment for the patient. After doing that in the GMP facilities, you are sending it back to the patient's hospital, and you inject these 2 to 3 times every second week to these patients. We took a very important decision 1.5 years ago, where we decided to initiate a partnership with Radboud University Medical Center in the Netherlands. They are a leading manufacturer of cell therapy and has been working with dendritic cells and cell therapy in up to 20 years. The decision was based on to use the resources in the best way and minimize time into clinic. And the collaboration has been very successful. We have been able to perform a successful tech transfer, and we are now preparing them for qualify the manufacturing into being the manufacturer in our clinical trial that starts end this year. So taking a step back, I said earlier that we have a new technology. The tolerance inducer was improved in mid-2019. We also sent in the patent application, a local application in UK in the end of 2019, as well as signing the agreement with Radboud. The past year, we was doing a lot of things to prepare for clinical trial for Idogen, our key project and the first project from which we will do the clinical trial now. We are also focusing on business development with a lot of contacts with partnering companies and potential academic partnerships also. What we also did 1 year ago was to take the step from the spotlight stock market up to the Nasdaq First North growth market. So briefly, our projects. Hemophilia A and patients with neutralizing antibodies. That's the indication for the first project. And as many of you know, hemophilia A is a genetic deficiency where you're lacking clotting factor 8. And as a standard of care, you're using manufactured factor 8 treatment as a replacement. And that is the standard, and most of the patients are very happy with that. But unfortunately, 25 to 30% of these patients develop these unwanted neutralizing antibodies. And that is what we are aiming to treat with our cell therapy. Annual cost for these patients are around $140,000 and start with that for the factor 8 treatment. But if you're not successful there, the price tag per year could be up to around $1 million a year. But in this case, Idogen aims to reprogram the immune system to tolerize the factor 8 treatment. So that means starting with factor 8 treatment, you initiate neutralizing antibodies, giving the cell therapy, and you take away that response from the immune system, and you can actually continue with factor VIII treatment, which was the treatment that was ordinated by the doctor initially. Here we are in a late stage in the development phase. We are now in 2021 where we are aiming or preparing for starting the clinical trial. We are in a stage where we are soon sending in the clinical trial application and are ready and expect an approval for the study end of this year. Moving into the transplantation area, that is a very common treatment today. Globally, 90,000 patients today gets a new kidney, and if we would have more kidneys available, that number would have been a lot higher. These patients get lifelong immune suppressive treatment, which is good for the patients in one case. They avoid reactions, but the other side of the coin is also that it's a very unspecific dampening of the immune system, which also gives us an unwanted reaction, increased risk for difficult infections, cancer, but also a direct negative effect on the new kidney. So therefore, one of the aim is to be able to lower this dose as much as possible to balance side effect versus effect. With this treatment, we are aiming to replace the immunosuppressive treatment or lower it in a way to be able to lower the risk for graft loss in a later stage of the after transplantation. And what we do here is that we take the cells from the patients, we introduce them with cells from the donor. And before you perform the transplantation, you give the cells from the patients managed or mixed with the cells from the donor, and then you create the tolerance for the organ that is transplanted into the patients. And this is the next indication for our technology. Here we are in a slightly earlier stage. We have learned a lot in the past years about the platform. The platform is the same. Now we're making the adaptation of the technology to fit for using it in transplantation instead of factor VIII. So here we are now in an adaptation phase, but we also around the corner see the next step based on what we have been learning from the factor VIII ongoing project, also be applied for the transplantation indication. I also mentioned the third project. Here we are also have the priority number 3. This is a big group of different diseases for which you can apply them on the platform. Here we are looking for partners that could potentially license in, or we can together with them develop the indications. And we see that as interesting opportunities for companies that want to step into the cell therapy area for the future. So this year, I have mentioned that before, Idogen 8, here we do everything needed to prepare for the clinical trial. Here we are now very focused to prepare and to adapt the platform technology into a transplantation treatment with cell therapy. And we are also very much accelerating our business development activity as well as partnership with academias in parallel. Doing this kind of development, you need to have input from the academia and also from clinicians. And we have a very strong advisory board, which we work very close together with. They are specialists in hemophilia, they are specialists in immunology, but also specialists in early clinical trials and cell therapy. So this is a group that is very important for our progress in the development of our cell therapy. So if I summarize with my final slide, we have well advanced projects with a clear strategy ahead, and we believe as a company in cell therapy. We have a proprietary technology with patent protection until 2040. We have a strong partner for high-quality, large-scale production, which is Radboud University Center, a very important decision 1.5 years ago. We aim at clinical readiness end of this year. And we are also looking for partnership for further development. So this is where we are. And thank you for the opportunity to share the newest information from Idogen as a company. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Anders. And we'll open up for questions. I'll start out with regarding IDO 8. If you succeed in remodeling the immune system, will that only be one time that you need to do it, or does the patient have to come back for further remodelizations of his or her immune system? That's the first question. And my second question is, will the solution that you offer apply for all products out there in the hemophilia market with the factor 8? And what does the market look for IDO 8?
First question was what? Can you take this one more time?
Yeah, the first question was if you succeed in remodeling the patient's immune system so they can receive the treatment of the factor 8 product, will you have to come back on additional occasions to receive further reformulation, or do you only have to do this once?
The hope is to only be able to do it once, and that it will serve like a vaccination. That is what we are looking for. We are also in the clinical trial looking to make a challenge after a while, seeing if they still are accepting factor 8 treatment externally. So yes, this is what we're looking for, and the ideal would be that you only do it once and have the problem solved. However, it can very much be that you need to do another treatment, maybe a few years later, or as a second shot. We don't know yet, but the first what we're looking is to do it once, and then be able to continue with factor 8. Yeah.
So you will be able to continue even though that the patients are showing signs of needing an additional treatment. You can continue the treatment. There will be no obstructions to do so with respect to the patients not responding if he responded in the first time and then he need a second round or a third round. Is it so that he can continue to respond to the treatment in your what the knowledge you have today?
The knowledge we have today is that if we give the treatment and they respond, we hope that will be the case. If they respond the first time and the effect is declining, then it most probably can be that you need to treat one more time. If that is in 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years, we don't know yet.
Okay. So the solution that you offer, will that be something that you can apply as an add-on to many of the existing treatments for hemophilia A out in the market today, or will you do a partnership with a company, or how do you see that strategy pan out?
I would say that the ideal solution would be that the factor 8 company will have our product or in their portfolio or a very close collaboration with us, because that would actually give them the opportunity, if we are successful, to take the full market compared to the other ones that needs to hand over these patients to other suppliers in the market. So I would say that our product in the hands of a factor 8 company would be the ideal situation. Okay.
Could you also elaborate a little bit on how the market for IDO 8 looks like?
It totally. I mean, the market is around 150,000 hemophilia A patients globally. And you used to say that slightly more than 100,000 of them have a severe hemophilia A. And if you only look to the minor group of them, the adults that we're doing for the first clinical trial, then it's lower. But we expect also, if we are successful in younger patients, we will be able to take a significant part of that market.
Okay, I see that you have a very interesting pipeline, but also an early stage pipeline that will take some years before you can actually do a market launch. So with respect to that, how does your financial position look like? How would you consider funding the pipeline until the market, and how long can you go with your current run rate?
I mean, what we entered this year with around 50 million Swedish kronor in the bank account, and I think we left the first quarter with around 38 million. And we have a run rate then around 3.5 million a month. We also have already now what was a part of the new issue in November, December the past year. A warrant that will be executed as a part of a unit in September, and that will also give us more runway. So having that said, we are in a position where we can continue with a high speed of development currently, but we need also for the future to apply all opportunities for sure to have new issues in the future.
Okay. I think that was the last question, since we're running out of time. Anders, it was a pleasure to having you, and thank you for a good presentation of Idogen. It was very exciting.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity to be here and present. Thank you.